precarious background with me.
Okay, so if you want to do the introductions, Daryl, and then we'll turn it over to Tom.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Daryl Dahl, the marketing director for Professional Outdoor Media Association of Canada. I'd like to welcome everybody to our drone seminar for the outdoors here, presented by Tom Armstrong, our regional director for Ontario. Tom lives near Thunder Bay, Ontario, and is an avid outdoorsman. He's been one of our directors since 2019, and he's all into drones. So he's here with a couple of friends of his, and he's going to share some key information for you guys if you want to get into things. We are going to record this session and put it onto our new YouTube channel that we've made, so you'll be able to review it later. So, Tom, take it away, buddy. Thank
Okay,
you.
excellent. Okay,
I'll just make you host, Tom, and then you can do whatever you want. Uh, Oops, let me just admit. I got a couple more people who need to be admitted here. Hang on a
okay.
sec. Okay, I'm turning it over to you, Tom.
I'm the host. Okay, I got the power here. Okay, I'm gonna flip this PowerPoint on. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I gotta try and keep an eye. So if something will pop up on here, I'll see it, eh, DJ?
Yeah, it should pop up right at the very top of the screen.
Okay. Just gotta move some. Oh, sorry. Bear with me a sec. Trying to rearrange my screen a bit so I can see stuff. Okay. Thanks for coming out for this, guys. I hope it's interesting and informative. Tell me, can you see this PowerPoint here right now?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I think I mean you obviously know what we're talking about. We're talking about drones and the kind of how and why and what. And I got a few friends of mine that are here that are far more knowledgeable than I. They're going to talk about some things. Just real, I'll try and keep it brief because I imagine this. There's a decent bit of stuff to cover, and I hopefully there's some Q&A things that we can go over. But I'm hoping that this will give some insight into like what drones can offer you, like how accessible they really are. For um, you can spend a little, you can spend a lot, depending on what you want to do. But they're a remarkable tool that I think we can really utilize. I've started using them more and more, and it's just what it offers is pretty incredible. So we'll talk a bit about just kind of what they can do for you, how they work, some options, some rules, and some what you need to get you rolling into them. So just real quick background, just to kind of have some context on me and my guests here. Um, okay. Um, so again, so I'm the Ontario's director for POMAC. I'm outside of Thunder Bay here, is where I've been my whole life. I do a bit of everything up here. But drones, I've been using them like personally and professionally for a number of years. So I've got a little one that I fly around just for fun and take pictures at camp um, and I use it a lot actually for scouting and hunting stuff. But also I had for a number of years, I was flying for work. So I've made a bit of a job change this last 10 months or so. So I'm kind of, I've left that role. I'm doing something different. But I was working for a police service here. I was there for a long time. But the last 3 or 4 years, I was managing the drone program there. So that's something, actually, along with my next guest here I'll introduce, he really helped grow it. So I kind of took this program from its infancy and turned it into a bit of a monster that consumed all of my time and gave me a great deal of stress, but it turned into a really cool program. So we were flying all sorts of stuff. So we're flying little drones for documenting scenes. We're flying thermal drones for searches for missing people, for chasing bad guys, flying drones in houses, all sorts of different stuff. So I've got a lot of really kind of unique experience with them. Um, and with that, I developed and ran some training for our program as it kind of grew there. So I've got a decent background in the application of them, the laws, that sort of thing. I've spent a lot of time kind of on the sticks with them, and um, yeah. So just a bit of background. I want to validate myself, I suppose, a bit. Next dude, this handsome fellow here, he's there in a striped shirt on our thing. He has his name's anonymous here. He just goes by number 8865 on his Zoom apparently. So but that's Doug Elo.
I wasn't going to try to change that now.
No, you probably need to call IT.
I delete
Um,
everybody's accounts if I tried that now.
so very similar, except Doug's been doing it a lot longer than I. He was actually, I kind of tapped into him as a resource. I was fortunate enough when I was growing and developing our program. He was in a very established service with a very established drone program, and really kind of took me under his wing. And we've done a lot of stuff together and training and things. And he's been here and I've been down there. And but this dude's got a vast amount of experience flying drones and knows all the ins and outs of the tech stuff and the legality. And he's got, again, I've got a lot of time on him, but he's got leaps and bounds more. So that's Doug. He's going to kind of weigh in throughout. We don't really have a script on what we're doing or who's doing what. We're just going to kind of wing it as we go here. And then next, Pedram, he's, I think, on the phone right now, but he'll be joining us. He's here listening, I think. But Pedram, I just grabbed this off your website. But Pedram, from what this says, is he's an incredibly knowledgeable guy. Runs this Infinite Drones, which is down in Southern Ontario. But he's flies drones, builds drones, is just an incredible resource in this. So Pedram's joining us as well. He was never mind. He's okay. I think he's back on now. Is a great resource for us. Pedram actually. Sorry guys. How do I go back here? Pedram was a great source of equipment. Doug and I both used him sourcing stuff, and is an excellent resource. We bought a lot of stuff from him. Can be a great place if anybody's interested. So he's going to be here just, again, kind of chime in throughout. And then also, I'm really hoping to lean on him a bit. If anybody has any kind of video specific questions, he'll have a lot more of the kind of tech answers on, video for YouTube versus video for social media, video for different things. Like I've got the basics, but he can talk a bit about that and answer a number of those questions. And then also he's going to talk a bit, I hope, about just some options, some price points. Here's what you can get. Here's what this offers you if you want to do this, this, and this. So he'll be a great thing if you've got questions about any of that kind of stuff. So, okay, I'll roll into it here. So again, why do we want to use drones? I imagine I'll follow this PowerPoint a bit. I kind of put it together, some of this. I think if you guys have questions, probably feel free to chime in and we can answer them as we go. Might be the easiest. And then Doug and Pedram at any point in time, if there's something you want to chime in and say, I'll kind of go over the basics and then we'll go from there. But so as far as for outdoors writers, videographers, photographers, anybody that's, whether you're doing vlogs or blogs or YouTube or anything, I mean, what these things can offer you is mind blowing. And in these, with what's available nowadays, it's almost a no brainer. Like if you want to get really serious, you can spend a bit more money and have something pretty remarkable. But for a very modest price point, you can get a drone. You can learn to fly that drone in a morning, and you can really kind of step up your game for photos and videography. So this, we'll go through it a bit, just looking at some examples and things. But so again, why, right? They're incredibly easy to use. We'll talk about licensing and stuff. There's certainly some restrictions, limitations. It is a fairly regulated thing, but for many of these drones, you don't need to have your license. If there's not, it's not as limited for where you can fly and things. So we'll talk a bit about those rules as we go. But so again, it's not something that people might think maybe it's cost prohibitive to get into, or there's too many rules, or you have to have a license, and that, while that can be the case, there are many applications that you don't need to do that, right? Like, a photo like this, I got a bunch of other examples, but I mean, you're taking that, it's not in restricted airspace, it's with a mini, like DJI Mini. You don't need a license, you don't need approvals, you don't need anything, you just fly it. And most folks could learn how to, fly this little thing, and, in an hour, you'll be pretty darn good at it. So, they're really, really neat, and we'll kind of keep going about them. So, again, a lot of these are just examples just to show you. So these things are, everything I got in this presentation, I think, was taken with my $600 DJI Mini 2. Very, fairly simple drone. I've got the same idea now. This one's the Mini 3. So small, compact, easy to use, throw in your pack, throw in your truck, bring it on the quad, bring it in the boat. very, very simple to master it, and just takes remarkable photos. So when you're doing whatever you're working on, right? If you're working on videos for YouTube, social media stuff, just photos for print articles, online things, it adds such a different and unique perspective to things. So, and that's what a lot of these are, right? Like they're just, I mean, I picked out a few that I really like here, but you look at the quality of these things and just that perspective is something you'll never get. Pardon me. Just with your, like how do you capture something like that, right? And that's again, it's a, for a $600 drone, that is pretty darn good, I would say. Sorry, pardon me. I'm outside here and it's smoky. It's bugging me. Um, that's the orange apocalyptic glow. For those that didn't hear earlier, it's Northwestern Ontario is on fire here, so it's kind of weird out here. It's raining ash and a black and orange sky. But yeah, so again, it just gives that unique perspective. Here's a great example. Well, I did a story a couple of years ago for Ontario Outdoors on hunting bears in the standing corn, which is a like absolute blast to do. And I use a drone a lot for scouting. So we'll talk a bit about it after, not muddying the waters of hunting and things, but remarkable tool for scouting, but also it's a great perspective. So I think a number of these photos landed in the magazine, and you're talking about, the bears laying waste to corn. I mean, you can go stand in the corn and take a photo of, corn stalks all smashed over, but things like this just show that perspective so much better, right? So yeah, here you can see, right? It's just like, whether you're talking about, habitat, or you're talking about setting up food plots, or you're talking about, stand locations, to have something like this, just a visual, it's such a cool perspective, right? We're talking about water sources and cover and bedding areas for whitetails or whatever it is you may be doing. It's again, just that really cool perspective. This one's neat. This is actually about 800 yards behind my house there. So, I've shot a few bears back there where they have corn in here over the years. So this one's neat because I can scout bears from my deck right here. So see where they're getting into the corn. And that's what I'll do with this, just a side note. But I'll go fly and look. Like maybe they're coming out of one corner, they're coming out of another one, see where they're really hitting corn, and then I go set up shop there. But yeah, so here down on the bottom left there, right? There's um, a few drone photos from a few different farm fields. One of that same one I just had up. But just right, it's using that. It's in the magazine. It's a neat perspective, and but just showing the kind of the application of it, I guess. So I again touched on it in this cornfield bear article, and yeah, I think that one was the earlier one. But these moose photos, it's just such a cool shot. Like if for nothing else, just for you to have some really neat and unique photos. One of these, not this moose, there was a similar photo I had. I think was one of um, the photo awards a couple years ago. I won one was a drone photo of a cow moose with our group around it. But again, this perspective here, right? Ice fishing, like this one. I don't know whose fish ID skills are really tuned in. Can anybody tell what we got laying outside of that thing there? One's very unique, at least to me. If anybody else could pick it out just for fun, maybe not. Yes, there's a bunch of whitefish and there's a couple of burbot laying on the ice there. If anybody fishes for them, they're rather unique, but again, just kind of cool perspective. So um, maybe I have too many here now that I'm seeing all these, but yeah, that was that one I think from a few years ago from the POMAC Awards. So again, just a cool angle that for a different take on a harvest shot or anything, right? Guys fishing, guys shooting, guys hunting. These, right? I needed a photo of me setting up a trail camera in the corn. So I just, instead of trying to bring somebody out there and get a photo of it and like this, I think it's super quick, simple. I bomb in there, I fire the drone up. Here I'm just hiding a remote behind the trail camera, but it's one, it gives me that perspective, that photo I really wanted to get, just something that's unique and different. And it's super simple, right? It's that mini, I just fire it up and snap that photo, and even this, right? Like I'm doing the same thing, messing with the camera, but I got the remote in my hand. But you need to take a photo of yourself doing something. Well, you don't need somebody else. You can rig that up to do it. So Yeah, and there it is there. So this one was in that bottom left, um, was in published on Ontario Outdoors one. So I've used a number of these drone photos, and they're it's just really useful and just I think they're a really cool take. Like I think that photo is better than anything I could have taken of me, from the ground at the scene there, taking that shot. So, and decoys, and again, just painting the picture for whatever it is you're doing. This one, side note, those are all moose tracks. Absolutely trampled on this beach here. Was really cool. Just flying around scouting and found that. So clearly that's was a hot spot that I spent some time at. Okay, rules. Maybe Doug, just for the sake of talking for a sec, you want to talk a little bit about kind of the difference between like um, micro drones and licensing and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the welcome, Tom. My name is Doug Elo. I fixed my thing without deleting everybody on here, so we're good. Usually, obviously, programs used for work a lot. 23 years with law enforcement, and have been running our drone program down here since end of 2016. Obviously, a lot more in depth on the way we do things, but definitely scouting for different things, hunting different things. I am originally from Thunder Bay, so I am a T-Bay boy myself, an outdoorsman. So when Tom sent the invite, I was quite interested in it. Um, I'll give you a quick Cole's notes on how they came up with some of the rules because it's still to this day, and I think Pedram can agree that they did not make new rules. Just so, is anyone else a pilot, bush pilot, anybody on there at all? So basically, the Canadian aviation regulations, instead of making new rules for just drones themselves, what they did was they basically did added a chapter on to the end of the same rules that will keep it simple. Air Canada, WestJet, actual aviators have to follow. They just basically just added on a little bit. So it goes to show you how in depth some of the things were when they first came out with the different licensing. I went to a ground school at Humber College originally before the new licenses, and then the new license came up and it was done by manned aviators, and the test itself had some very unique questions. What they'll tell you one thing, you're not allowed to fly in an airport, and then the next question on my test was, well, what do red lights on a taxiway mean? So it was very thoroughly confusing, written by aviators. Um, I know Pedram's been involved. I've been involved. Tom's been involved. So the public safety sector really had to get involved to kind of help straighten out some of these, like the realities of what the uses are. To keep it super simple, micro drones under 250 grams. These are the ones you can go and find. Like Tom said, you can go to your Best Buys, your Costco. What they did was they simplified it and made these very user-friendly drones that you wouldn't need any licensing whatsoever. In my world, this has done nothing but cause a bunch of problems because people are flying them still in restricted airspaces over major events in the way of um, aviation. We have Billy Bishop Airport down by us, and their pilots report seeing drones all the time. And if you saw anything from, and we'll get into some of the rules later, but if you saw how dangerous they can be, we saw last year that a Canadian water bomber was almost taken out of the sky in California. And yes, rugged aircraft, luckily. And it still took a water bomber out of service for 4 days in a North American incident that was happening where Canada's helping the U.S. for it. That's how bad it was, and to lose an apparatus like that. Um, so micro drones, you don't technically need a license, although they have changed things as of last April. You aren't allowed to fly them over certain events. This is all on Transport Canada's website. But the Coles noted for you, you can't fly them over advertised events. So Canada Day fireworks, for example, you're down at Woodbine Beach or whatever town you're in, whatever advertised event is. We would having such a hard problem that if we were there monitoring the crowds, for public safety reasons, people in the water, people on the beach, hundreds of thousands of people. We actually have had to start maneuvering our own drone, if not landing it, because all you were seeing was like the rise of the apocalypse of all these people with their mini drones flying them in. And we actually watched one get shot out of the sky by fireworks. So no rhyme or reason in micro drones for rules. I think at the basic, you should probably have at least a basic license. That is your entry level license. Next is going to be your advanced license, allows you to, I'm not going to get in the complete breakdown of these licenses. That's what a good drone course is. Transport Canada's website actually has a really good, easy to follow breakdown on their website. They have listened and they have made it very simple to learn what you need to know type rules for it. And then as we get a little more complicated into it, um, there's now a complex level one license. I won't get into that. That's for your bigger drones and doing a little more finessed operations that you probably wouldn't find yourself doing in a recreational world. That would be more along the lines of your commercial type drone. So I don't know if you've seen any of these agricultural drones. There's the T50s and T100s that are massive. They're spraying cornfields. They're ginormous, almost. I don't know. Pedram can probably give you the specs, but I mean, let's call it at least 6 foot wide. They're giant. They're big. They can carry. Then you got your fly carts that are carrying. I think it's 80 plus kgs even. These drones. So it goes to show you where you can go with it commercially. And I think we've all seen deliveries being done, but that's the complex level one license when you start getting into that kind of stuff. But for the basic user, if you want to stay with a micro drone, easy to use, um, I would still recommend. Yep.
Um, can you fly them in an urban center, a micro drone?
So yeah, it's going to depend on your local bylaws as well. You also have to nothing supersedes. So unless you're in restricted airspace, nobody owns the actual airspace itself. I know I'll get calls from different police services and stuff to be like, "Oh, someone was flying over our station. That's ours." Well, it's actually not. Um, but if it's an actual airspace itself, then that airspace gets to be owned. So, for example, Pearson Airport or Thunder Bay Airport, any major. So basically, the easiest way to think of airspace is an upside down wedding cake. So as you're lower to the actual airport itself, you'll have more restrictions get closer, and then as it goes out, it tears itself out. Now, depending on what kind of airport, so obviously Pearson Airport's going to have a little bit different airspaces than, let's say, the airstrip in Marathon, right? It'll still have it, but it won't. So um, you can, but if you look at the urban centers itself, I'll just use Toronto as the example because I can keep it the simplest. So technically, Billy Bishop Airport's on the island, and its airspace itself flows into the downtown core.
Yeah.
So technically, you're in a restricted airspace. But it's not just about the runways, as we know. You have to be very and this is why I recommend everyone to get yourself familiar with some of these tools, even as uh, a a part-time or a recreational flyer. We can't say, "Oops, I'm sorry," if you take down a helicopter or a plane. There are tools out there that even the non-professional pilot should be aware of. Um, Urban centers, again, bylaws. You can't obviously trespass. So if there's you can't step on it, but then there's ones that'll step out. Okay, we're on the sidewalk. That's nobody's. Know your city bylaws. That's where they start. Understand what's going on around you. If there happens to be an organized event and you really don't think there is or whatever, and it's an actual organized event, then there's actually some fines.
Hey,
Fine
Doug,
wise, yep,
can you see? I changed my screen from the PowerPoint to this. I'm
yep,
on
okay.
Nav Canada's page. Can you see it or no?
Yep. Yeah. So the
Okay.
drone tools that are on there are really good. you can actually search where you are, and it'll actually show you. So it'll show you the way the each runway goes out, or if it's a helipad, it'll show you it'll actually show you the defined area of the airspace, and then it'll actually you can use some of these tools to show where you can find out. So it's not to say that, well, I mean, if you don't have a license, you shouldn't be flying in there. That's pretty straightforward, I would think. But just because there's an airspace doesn't mean you can't fly. You need some more of the licensing, but you also need to learn how to put in using tools. There's a nav drone is their portal, and you can put in your flight, who you are, what kind of license you have, what drone you're flying, and then be able to proceed with an operation. So again, I use Billy Bishop. Well, half the times if I have a missing person and they're on the island, I'm literally driving across the runway to go out to the island. We could take the ferry across stuff. We obviously have a lot more in the public safety sector. We have to deal with a lot more stuff, but I mean, it's not unheard of us to be in direct contact with the air traffic controller and say, okay, what kind of brakes do you have in your air traffic? We're searching for a missing boater or a missing swimmer, and we will fly right in the flight path, right at the end of the runway, but it's obviously at an advanced level, and with some great organization that happens with it. So I won't say no to everything, but you do need to definitely figure out what you want to do and then pick the license that suits you and what you're doing, where you are. I think Tom will get into it in a little bit here. I already kind of I touched on it, but I believe it's outdoors. So I kind of thought of a few things and rules that would definitely beautiful shots. I can see why the guy hit the water bomber of the wildfires and stuff like that. But like, you can't even be at 5 nautical miles of a wildfire. Never mind flying within an emergency area. So if they're declaring police, fire, ambulance, whoever's declaring it, that's their area, and it's 5 nautical miles. I think that's just over 9 kilometers that you can't even be flying in there, simply for the reason of they need to work and not think about you. So our course is a week-long course, so I'm definitely not gonna to beat it in you there. Um, and then quickly, some other places you can't fly. Um, Anything military, Class F, restricted airspaces. So your prisons, things like helipads. So all your hospitals. Your hospitals have zones. Um, or sorry,
This
landing pad, right? That's all things you need to take into consideration with it.
this
Do you
photo
have
here will
any
show it
other?
good, eh, Doug?
What's that?
Like just this will show like an example for them. Like this big circle here, if everybody can, you guys can see it, eh? Like the big circle is the radius around the Thunder Bay Airport. This small one
Uh,
is the
I,
one.
I don't see it. If you
Oh,
share.
do I have to pick what screen I'm sharing? Okay, bear with me 1 second then. Okay, now do you see it?
There you go.
Okay, sorry, I thought you were seeing it all along. Um, so in here, like this is so Thunder Bay, right? So we go on this drone map, right? You can go and see where, all the airspace. So if I'm going around Thunder Bay here, and you can pick what drone. So if I'm going to go fly my Mini, which is a micro drone, it's basically showing everything as like precautionary. So theoretically, short of some of those things that Doug talked about, are flying right off the runway. Like, so when we go, micro drone operations are permitted within this zone. Extra caution is required, right? So we're going to say the big circles around the airport, the small circles around the helipad at the hospital. This one over here, like on the east side, is it's just like a caution zone. So that's a seaplane base. So there's no restrictions, but it's just saying, hey, heads up, they're flying. And these two of the little ones to the left are just private airfields. So those ones, again, there's no restrictions, but it's just warning you they're there. If we go, so theoretically, you can fly your Mini everywhere in here. But let's just say you're flying you're going to fly a Mavic, like a little bit bigger, better drone with a basic license. All of a sudden, you can't fly in here at all with that, right? So you can fly there with your advanced. All of a sudden, you can fly with limitations, but this tool really kind of lays it out for you. So you can just go and basically, like, if you're flying, again, you're flying a micro drone, you can look at what the rules are and what's off limits and what, that's kind of they're just very simple version of it. You can really go down a rabbit hole with it, but go ahead there, Jeff, you got another question?
Yeah, that's on the website you're talking about, eh? The Transport Canada drone website.
Yeah, so this is like this drone site selection tool.
Yeah.
And then the other one Doug mentioned was that nav drone. And that's where basically if you had your basic or advanced license, you'd almost go in there to request permission to fly. So I think a large amount, I mean, I don't know necessarily where you guys all are, but a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, if it's for hunting, fishing, outdoors related and writing stuff, I'm not flying here, right? So for the most part, whether you're flying a micro drone or even a larger one under a basic license, which is fairly attainable, you're not necessarily worried about much of this stuff. So I would say.
So why I'm asking is I do a Mavic Mini Pro, and I'm under
Okay.
the 250 grams too, I believe.
Yeah.
But every so often you'll get a message come up and say, "Hey, you're in a restricted zone. You taking responsibility?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
You don't want to be a dick, right, and cause a problem.
Yeah.
And you don't want to cause a problem and be responsible. And I am always erring on the side of caution, but this is what this tool is exactly. Thank you very much. That's answered my question.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I really wish that they didn't venture away from the micro drones because they became very popular and just by like sheer number, they are getting in the way of public safety. I know searches from fire departments have had them go across, even media drones who are flying there just legally, and it's the problem that it caused was there's no onus on people. If you're a good person and you want to take the steps to make sure, as you said, Jeff, that I want to be safe, right? I mean, I think it's the common sense thing. Unfortunately, it's not. I can tell you, I've watched a lot of these things fall out of the sky because they don't understand the basics because they were never told they needed to, and it's really unfortunate. But I think just on the premise of when you're in the outdoors community and you're dealing with things like firearms, boating safety, ATV safety, things like that. I think maybe the environment causes you to think that way already. The last thing you would want to do is heaven forbid, take down a ministry helicopter because you're not paying attention to where you are, or a spotter plane, or a float plane that's doing the one off to a lake, right? Um, but as long as that maybe you didn't know that there was a lodge that actually had their lake registered and that's where they come into. And the whole point, like I said, you can go down the rabbit hole with this and fly complex flights. I can tell you right now, I fly right down Yonge Street. Right? So you can get very complex with these operations. Again, but that's more on the commercial or public safety side. But I think my biggest takeaway is to make sure that you have the basic understanding of some of the important rules. I've already seen Tom's, and I'll leave it for him and his background with the conservation there. Um, there's a very not just safe flying, but there is a very, very interpretive area when it comes to some of the laws and drones when it comes to hunting. It's a very, very kind of scouts honor system. Like I said before, I'm an outdoors guy myself. Um, what is scouting and what is cheating, almost, if you will. What advantage are you getting from flying high and using whatever to go and pre-scout where you being quiet walking in the woods might not have given you the same edge. I'm gonna leave that for Tom because he's got some a good slide on there and quotes right from conservation guys themselves. Um, but ultimately, um, get on the web page, even if you're just flying a mini, and get a real understanding of a free tool you can use, Not that you're going to be around somewhere, but it gives you that free check. It'd be the same thing you're going to check and see the weather before you go. This is where I might plan on flying. Understand some of the basics that even the basic license you need to follow, like your height. What's your actual max altitude if you're flying a drone, 400 feet above ground level, right? Do these things go a lot higher? Oh yeah. Do they go a lot further? Yeah. Right. It's just having that understanding though is it's what we'd like. That's the biggest takeaway. Have the understanding, use it, and have fun with it. You can get some amazing photos with these things. I think I'm actually on the record in court, basically explaining it to some a judge who had no idea what these things are, and I basically said it's a flying camera. That was the easiest way I can put it, right? So you start thinking creatively and what you can do with these things. Um, the sky's the limit with it.
Yeah, I think I'll burn through the license stuff. So again, that was like the micro drone thing. Basically, with some limitations, it's one, not needing a license for it. Basic is something you can get. It's just something you do online. You do a test. The basic one is not particularly complex. The advanced one gets a little more challenging. Um, but it's something to consider. The basic or advanced is something you'll need. Say you're going to get into a Mavic, right? Something that's a little more serious. You really want to get serious about the photos or videography. And I think Pedram will talk a bit about the tech specs there and what they offer you. But that's where you look into the basic and advanced. Um, so again, I think Doug talked about it, but no matter what it is, no matter if you're allowed to be there, you have clearance, you're always give way to manned aircraft. So, and again, there are some of those basic rules, but like Doug said, I'll talk briefly because I don't know that it really relates. Maybe just because you guys hunt and you might think about it. Just for the sake of time, I'll churn through it quick. But this is when I did Frontier Doors a few years ago. Talking about drones and scouting. Because when I started flying drones, I started looking like this would be a cool thing to use, but can I do it? So I reached out to the Ministry of Natural Resources here in Ontario and got some background. And I know some of you folks are out west and some are here. So, and kind of got a take from him on, what constitutes scouting, what constitutes hunting. So basically, you can't use the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Act here says you can't use an aircraft for hunting. That's just cut and dry what it says. Drone's considered an aircraft, so it's basically trying to determine what's hunting, what can you use it for. So, using it for photos while you're hunting, because I do it a lot, and I don't want to ever muddy the waters of, am I using this drone to go and find a moose in the back of the clear cut, or I'm using it for photos. So, while I'm actively hunting, I'm very guarded to use it. I've used it obviously clearly after the harvest to get some photos, and I think that's something that I can kind of justify. I've used it scouting, but when I'm scouting, it's a very separate thing. I'm not going to be taking those photos while I'm in the truck while I got a rifle in the passenger seat while I'm, heading into the stand, because I think that just leaves a little too much open to interpretation. And that was kind of the basics from him. Was it's if I'm going to use it for scouting, I'm going to go check out these cornfields. I'm going to go hunt next weekend. I'm going to go fly tonight and see where the bears are, what corner they're hitting the most, where they're coming from, what corn's ripe, where they're going. And then in a few days, I'm going to go hunt that. That's, an acceptable use of it. Whereas if I'm flying the drone, I'm like, oh, there's 4 bears in this back corner by the river. And then I put the drone down, grab my gear and hike back into that back corner. Now you're using that thing to hunt, right? So there's no timeline. There's no 24 hours between flights or anything that we hear about, but that's kind of just some consideration. So, and again, if you're using it for your writing, for videos, for photography, but you're doing it while you're hunting, it would just be something to be very cautious about, right? You think, hey, this is a cool shot I want to get while I'm out hunting. All of a sudden that game warden shows up, and you're flying the drone in your moose hunting spot while you're moose hunting. You might get yourself in a jackpot. Again, I don't know what it's going to be like for you Western guys. I suspect it's similar, but it would be worth looking at. So again, I'm guarded when I'm doing it. I have a very clear separation between scouting. If I want to get some drone photos for hunting, like a lot of this, some of the things I've got, I'm staging, right? Like I'm going out to take those photos specifically. Like maybe I'm bringing a rifle with no ammunition, or I'm doing something, right? Just to capture that shot, but make it very, very clear that I'm not doing it while I'm hunting. So I don't have to, again, muddy those waters. So I think we're going to run short on time. So I won't talk too much about it from kind of the the user perspective, I'll try and focus more on things that we're going to talk about from like you want to use this for your business basically. So
I mean, there is actually a company that actually has a pretty good YouTube site that they get called in for um, deer that couldn't be found by the hunting party. Maybe one that they didn't get a good shot on, things like that. I forget the channel, but he's actually very successful. He's flying a pretty good commercial drone with some thermal and stuff like that. So he's actually, I mean, I think it's almost being used in the good hands of conservation and that side, that there's not an animal not being harvested and being wasted out there that might not have had the best shot on it. It probably wouldn't be too hard for you to find on YouTube, but he definitely is not doing any hunting with the tech that's out there. But he's assisting other hunters somewhere in the Midwest. But it's good to see that the technology is being used to assist with that. We all have seen, the hunt and animal runs off, and you think it's going this way, and it actually went that way, and it can definitely help in the search for sure.
yeah, this I kind of skipped past it, but just while we're talking, that was a weird one when I got the reference from the game warden about it. Basically said you can use it in Ontario to search for down game, right? You shoot a moose, you can't find it. I mean, a thermal drone would be a game changer to go find that thing, right? Whether it's gone a long ways or it's just buried in a hole in a cut or something. The problem is that you can do it because you're not hunting. You're searching for a down game. It's acceptable because you're not hunting. But if all of a sudden that animal's now wounded, not dead, now all of a sudden you're hunting and it gets into that gray area. So that one was a bit tricky. But yeah, that channel he's talking about, there's a few guys that do it, and it's just wild what they find there. I think I'll go quick, but basically I was gonna talk about some settings and things. If you guys get into it, some stuff just to be aware of. A lot of this is kind of safety related, but when you get you'll buy a drone, no matter what it is, you can go and set these kind of basic parameters in there. So you're going to go and set that max height to like what Doug talked about, that 400 feet. You don't want your drone, it'll go higher, but you set that ceiling. So if you tell it to go higher, it's going to say, no, you told me not to, right? Max distance, maybe you're going to cap it at 2 kilometers because you don't want to push it and go further. So if you get one, you want to set some of these basic things, right? You want to make sure you've got that max height, max distance set to something reasonable and legal. And you can set a lot of these things, even this little one. If I fly from here and my remote battery dies, or I lose connection with the drone, this little drone is going to know, as long as I had good GPS signal, which is an important one when I took off, it's going to fly back there and land if I've told it to. So you want to make sure your settings are, if you lose contact with the drone and the remote, set to fly home and land. Right? If the battery's low, it's going to fly home and land. It's going to do a lot of this stuff on its own, but make sure you've kind of gone into settings and messed with those a little bit, learn what those settings are. Again, even these minis have collision avoidance, some of them. So go set those collision. Sorry. The smoke air is killing me out here. Set those collision avoidance settings to something reasonable, right? So it's going to warn you at 8 meters, and at 3 meters, it's going to put the brakes on before you crash into a spruce tree or something, right? So learn what those settings are, set all those things up to kind of prevent problems before you go out. So this one, I could have used Doug's video for it. But the just of a note, you're out there or something, then you're in the boat, you're in a cutover, you can't find somewhere to land, the drone's acting up, it's hinky and the sensors are screwed up. You can actually these little ones, you can pluck this sucker out of the sky and flip it over and it'll shut off, but you just got to do it very carefully. Doug had a video that had a runaway drone on, I don't know, somewhere very, very, very busy in the city. Hey, Doug?
It might have been Young Street, and I had my guy chickening out, and I'm yelling at him. You can hear me in the video going, "Just grab it, just grab it!" And he kind of kept doing the. So anytime he got close, it would pop up a bit, right? So it was one of those downtown things, but it worked out.
Sorry, I flipped screens, but we're back to my PowerPoint, are we?
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, something just to take note of, right? If the sensors are weird, especially you're out in the bush, or again, you're in the boat, you can't land, it's wavy. Landing in the boat's kind of freaky. Another consideration, if you're flying, like a lot of those shots I took in the lake, they're really cool photos and videos, and it's a really neat perspective. But keep in mind, I've taken off from the deck, from the front deck of my boat. It's learned that's home, right? So when that drone loses connection with my remote, when the battery gets low and it flies home, it's going to fly to wherever the heck that boat was. It doesn't know where I am now. So that's going to land right where it was, which is going to be smack in the middle of Lake Superior, right? Because my boat ain't in that same spot anymore. So keep that in mind. Landing on the boat, especially you get into some waves and wind, gets a little dodgy. It's something that you can think of, but just this we'll talk really quick about. Maybe if you're flying in inclement weather, it's something to learn about a little more. Again, just the sake of time, we'll churn through it. If you're flying when it's basically like at or below freezing, high humidity, and the dew point is very, very close to the temperature, you can risk icing up your propellers, which can be catastrophic. There's been a number of incidents where cops have crashed these things because it just loses lift. So that drone's basically just it's not working as it should. So if you're ever, we won't get too much into it. If you start flying in the winter, read about temperature and dew point icing propeller blades and be cautious. So we do it all the time, but you have to kind of pick and choose, what you're doing it for and when, and just be very aware that it can be an issue. Or if it's something I might be doing very short flights and checking propellers, and because things can go wrong quickly if all of a sudden it's propellers aren't doing what they're supposed to do. So again, kind of icing, just keep this in mind, right? If you're flying in the winter, because where we live, it's inevitable. But and again, you want those ice fishing shots or some snow moose hunting thing or whatever it is. But again, that temp is near or below freezing. The dew point is very close to the temperature, and the humidity is high. Those are all kind of the key combinations that can end in disaster. So I won't look at any of these things, but something, if you're doing it, learn about that. The cold, very simple. The cold's going to kill your batteries. Keep them warm, keep them in the truck, keep them in your jacket. Don't expect the same flight times. Don't push that drone out there thinking I'm going to fly for 27 minutes like the last battery, and it's minus 20 in Northwest Ontario. That sucker ain't going to last as long. So keep that in mind. A lot of these, again, I'm kind of burning through because I think we want to carry on to some other stuff. These, again, just to show, this is video from that $600 Mini 2. If you're doing YouTube stuff, you're doing blogs, you're doing something to accompany videos, you're doing online stuff, like they're really cool, right? Like the quality is pretty remarkable. So these, I think Pedram can probably talk a bit about it. Like these videos, I took some really cool ones from this lake, but I think if I really got into the settings and I don't understand them enough, like it's so bright and sunny, the boat just gets washed out, right? Like this video would be, again, just a cool perspective. If you're doing video on something, we're out jigging lake trout, but the boat's all washed out, and I'd love to, dabble into it a little more. But just again, if you're doing video, like what a cool perspective, especially get this up higher to capture things like this. It's just something neat and unique and different, right? It's not kind of the same old thing, right? There's a lot of these photos, I think that's the big draw with it. It's just, it's something unique. So like here was another, this isn't the full res video. This is one I had on the phone. But again, this Trout Unlimited did a bunch of work on my uncle's farm, and it's, flying the creek, looking at the riverbed, like seeing what they've done, seeing how the flow has changed, and just another neat application of it, but also just seeing the quality of these videos, right? Like it's just, and here I'm flying this along in between the cedars, and it's you got to be careful about it, but you look at how stable that is, right? Like, and you could be flying in a pretty decent wind with these drones, and they're the gimbal stabilization on the drone, like this thing, that the drone might be bucking in the wind, but this sucker is going to just be sitting still. And the better the drones you get, the better that they handle weather. So again, just trying to show some examples of what they can offer and give you some different kind of ideas. Here's a little bit tricky, trying to thread the needle through the cedars, but and something like this, I'm walking it through. I'm not doing this from afar. I'll fly the river from a distance, and then here I'll get down there and actually, like, okay, if I'm flying it, I want eyes on that drone and making sure I'm, running the gap between the cedars so I don't crash into a tree and then falls in the brook trout stream. Okay, so here was where I was going to talk about some stuff, but I'm hoping Pedro maybe wants to jump in a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Pedro was from Infinite Drones, somebody that Doug and I have dealt with, buying a lot of different stuff, but he was willing to talk a bit about some options and offerings and price points and things, and then also maybe some of the tech stuff. And if you guys have any questions specifically with that, he's going to be your guy.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer. I appreciate it, Tom. Thanks, Doug. So I'll talk a little bit. For first and foremost, I've been in the drone space for about 22 years. So we do anything from custom modifications of drones, building drones from the ground up, including ground control stations, and also we resell various different types of drones. Some of the drones that you guys may want to look into as a beginner are DJI drones. I was wondering, Tom, is there any way I can share my screen by any chance?
Oh,
Is
You'll
that
have to
possible?
make
If
him
not,
host.
that's okay.
You'll have to
Yeah.
make him host.
okay. So remind me again.
So
Actually,
go
no,
over
hold on.
go over
Three
to his
dots.
on his screen.
Change host. All right,
Yeah.
Pedram, you're running the meeting. You're in charge now.
Oh, cool.
And if you go down to the bottom toolbar, there should be a share. Yeah, perfect.
There we go.
Perfect. So I just loaded our website to make things easier so I can show you guys some of the products that we have. I would recommend when you're first starting out, DJI products are top notch. They pretty much DJI owns about 80% of the world's drone industry, and the reason why is because they're so easy to use. They're very comparable to kind of Apple systems where you know where everything is. They've laid it out nicely. The remote controllers are really nice. All the operations on it where everything you have to tap on, everything's laid out nicely on the remote controller. So DJI has been working on their operation software and their remote controllers for approximately 20 years. So they kind of have a lot of information and knowledge about how to build drones. Some of the drones that you guys may look at that does not need a lot of regulatory hurdles. So licensing when you're flying in uncontrolled airspace would be stuff that are less than 250 grams. So that kind of comes out to, as an example, the mini series. So the DJI mini series, there's the mini 3, mini 4, and there's also mini 2 you may be able to find online as well. But the newer ones in the market right now are the mini 4 and the mini 5. The good thing with these two systems, which I really like, is if you're into social media and you need to shoot 16:9 footage where it's lengthwise, kind of like your phone, and people are watching it on their phone, you could use the Mini 4 and Mini 5. So it has a lot of features for social media. If you want to post to social media, do some marketing and things like that, they're a really good system. They're under 249 grams, so it allows you to do a lot of good work. Unfortunately, the Mini 5 actually is not about less than 259 grams. It's about 2 grams over, but the Mini 4 is. So technically, right now, if you want to fly the Mini 5, you do need to have your basic and fly it in uncontrolled airspace. And one thing is, once you do get drones, all drones in Canada need to be registered. So you can go to the Transport Canada website, register your drone, and there's a C number sticker that you get, and it costs you about $10 to register a drone. So you want to do that for the drones when you're operating them. But this is a good system right here. Another one that if you want to control as a one person, however you want to control with hand gestures, you're a one-man show and you don't want to hold a remote, a really cool system is called the Neo, the DJI Neo series. Something really simple you can start with. It's $309. You can use it with your phone on an app. The really cool thing with the DJI Neo is it's got a LiDAR at the front of it. It uses that LiDAR about 250 times per second to locate where you are, where the user is. It's got a few buttons on the side or the bottom. So you press a button, it says what mode do you want to be in. So some of the modes are called selfie mode, video follow mode, and then video follow mode has front follow, side follow, back follow. And then you have functions like orbit, which it orbits around you. You have zoomies, where it just zooms away from you and then comes back. And the cool thing with this system is that it's got obstacle avoidance. It is a small guy, but it's got obstacle avoidance. You'll see a camera at the top right there where my mouse is. And then you'll also see a camera at the bottom of it. Actually, there's no images at the bottom of it, but there's also a camera at the bottom. It's using those two cameras as obstacle avoidance. So it makes a 3D image of the world and it makes sure not to hit anything. And it uses the LiDAR at the front of it and the camera to use some AI to detect you and see where you're going. Just recently, actually, I was in Barbados and I wanted to try it. So I had it record me and it followed me. I took a dip and my buddy told me that it was coming in a dip with you. So he caught it a few millimeters off the water before it followed me. So the follow function on this thing is really great. It was about to come right into the pool with me. So that's some things that you might want to keep in mind and be careful with. But this is a really good system. It comes, it's very inexpensive. Starts at about $309 if you want to just aircraft only. The Fly More combos come with a remote, so you put your phone inside of it. So a little grapple thing at the top holds your phone, and you can now see what the camera sees. But the fact that it allows you to do a lot of functions is really cool. You can have it basically stay at a certain distance away from you, and you could talk and mic yourself and then merge the video and the mic together on your computer so that you have your own personal cameraman. Something very interesting with this system that we developed. So our sister company is called Nessa Technology. We manufacture accessories. So for the Neo, we made a system called the Sky Torch. Something that you may want to utilize if you're like a one-man show wanting to take recordings of yourself. This is the Sky Torch Mini, so it's a little lighting system. It's 900 lumens in front of it and 900 lumens below it. Now, the reason why we did 900 lumens below it is because we want that camera that's under it to be able to see the ground, because it uses it to triangulate and keep itself centered in front of you. And it also uses it for when it loses GPS. So let's say you're outdoors and then you're walking into a house, into a building, you can basically have it follow you throughout the whole entire process. As soon as it loses GPS, it goes to we call VPS, vision positioning system, and it uses the camera below it to co-locate itself and still continue following you even though it doesn't have GPS indoors. So the lighting system is basically a really good option for a lot of nighttime activities where you want to record yourself and talk, or in areas of low light, but you need illumination. You can use that. Right now, the SkyTorch is mostly being used by emergency response when they want to go inside of a building. They use that to illuminate to see where the bad guy is and check stuff out. But I took it on vacation and I used it as my personal cameraman, and it was phenomenal. Even at nighttime, it did a good job following me. I was on a scooter doing about 35 kilometers an hour. This thing was right behind me, which is really cool. So it's got some really good functions. These three systems, the Mini Series, Mini 4, Mini 5, and also the or the Neo, are really good systems and something that I really recommend. If you want to go above and beyond that and you want to get into some really good quality imagery, there's another system called the Mavic 4 Pro. Now, the cool thing with the Mavic 4 Pro is DJI actually bought 19% of a company called Hasselblad. Hasselblad's been making lenses since World War I. So they make some of the best cameras in the world. DJI partnered up with them and created this system here called the Mavic 4 Pro. It's got 3 lenses. It shoots in 16:9. It shoots up to 6K. It's got internal storage. It's got about a 40-minute flight time, so a pretty nice, impressive flight time on it. The reason why it has 3 cameras is just like your phone. You have 3 cameras on your iPhone. It basically does the exact same thing. It's got different ratios, and you can also zoom in. So you got approximately about a 14 times zoom optical between the 3 lenses. So you can do things like dolly zoom. You can do things where it flies out but zooms into you. You can do things where it zooms on the target and follows it at the same time. So it has all the functions of some of the smaller drones, but it has the benefit of a really good camera. Some companies out there, film companies, actually utilize it to capture film with a DSLR on the ground, but this in the air, because it can shoot in D-Log. So it's got a lot of good features, and D-Log will allow you to colorize after in post-processing. So it does a really good job. These are some of the specifications of the various lenses. So Hasselblad cameras, they're all Hasselblad. It's got 100 megapixel. So you can imagine it's super crisp, clear imagery. Your telephoto is 48 megapixel, and then you got 50 megapixel on your smaller telephoto that's a little bit more narrow. Does a really good job, 6K 60 frames per second, 4K at 120 frames per second. So you can get 4K, which you can zoom in 4 times, still maintain a 1080p imagery. But shoot at 120 frames per second, so you can get some slow-mo in there, which is really cool. And D-Log, like we talked about, for colorization. So it's got a lot of great features for those guys that want to get professional imagery, but have the ability to edit and modify the image, play with it, and do some color grading. So it's perfect for that kind of stuff. In terms of weight, it is over 250 grams. So you do need your advanced license if you're doing this kind of work in a controlled airspace, or in your basic license if you're doing it outside of controlled airspace. So just something to keep in mind. But the advanced license is nothing difficult. Both the basic and advanced license, we have a training center that you guys can come to and learn the regulatory side of things and get your advanced license. So that's something that I definitely recommend. When you go to this caliber of drone, there's a lot of great things you can do with it, a lot of great imagery and shots. And just like Tom said, the world always looks a little bit more different from up above. So if you've been going to the same place over and over again, sometimes I always encourage everyone, try looking at it from a drone perspective. It always looks like something new. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Above and beyond this, we also do some enterprise type of drones. We have systems that can fly for up to 6 hours. We have some that can carry 50 kilograms for up to 250 kilometers away, which is more enterprise and deliveries and things like that. It's the majority of our work, doing enterprise systems and docking stations and things like that. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions from both the consumer side and then the enterprise side if you guys have them.
On the Neo, Pedram, it's shooting in 1080, is it?
That's correct. Yeah, the Neo shoots in 1080, and it can do also 4K on the video.
Oh, it can do 4K on video?
That's correct. Yeah, it can do 4K on the video, 1080 being its lowest. It also does 2.7 as well, and
Okay.
the 4K it does 100 frames per second. The
Okay,
one
so
bad
that's
thing with the Neo is low light is a little bit of an issue because it's got a smaller sensor. But besides that, I honestly love it because it's so small. You can just pack it in your bag and take it wherever you like.
yeah. And then on all the minis, they're just straight 1080, or do they do 4K as well?
They also do 4K as well.
Okay.
The sensors on those are a little bit bigger, and the sensors on those ones are actually Sony sensors, so you find them do a little bit better in low light compared to the Neo series.
Okay.
Hey, we just donated those to the river in northern Saskatchewan last week. Unfortunately, our friend Jason was flying his, and we got a bunch of awesome footage, and it went to land on his hand, and it flipped sideways and went underwater, and it was gone.
Oh no.
So one thing I'll tell people from my drone experience is to, if you're taking multiple days of footage and you're on an excursion somewhere, download your footage each night. Don't let it all build up on the card, because if you lose the drone, your footage is gone. So yeah, we lost the drone and like 3 days of footage from all the different scenes that we got. So yeah, download your footage every night.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't always behave.
No.
I was gonna comment on that. If we could spend a whole day on or at least a good 2 hours on what I like to call with my guys is dress for success, and it's about getting yourself in a habit of physically right from the get-go before you take your drone out to do your mission or your job or to go and capture what you want. Do a good physical visual once over. I have not personally, but I have witnessed the very, very sad face of someone forgetting to put a memory card in their drone. Might have been at a walkout ceremony for retirement with horses and bagpipes.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was a sad face. Luckily, we're in the era of cell phones, so there was at least some recovered stuff. Again, if you're out here and you guys are writing or videographers, like again, I can spend a whole day on just on physically checking out your stuff. There's so many little tips and stuff that you can do. Checking your propellers, making sure you got extra propellers. The last thing you want to do is have no extra propellers and go shoot something outside, and you do zing a branch or something like that. Completely repairable, but you didn't bring your extra propellers, stuff like that. To your point with the video, multiple memory cards, also a good thing. Swap out day 1, day 2, day 3, or different operations. We'll often do that when it comes to the forensic side of things. And we'll actually, I will put him in a laptop real quick just to ensure that we actually captured what we wanted to. Those are the ones there are no sad faces to walk away. You miss those photos, you missed them, and there's a lot of problems with that. But to like I can tell you right now that Pedram only touched the tip of the iceberg. Start small, they work well. And really figure out what you want to, how you want to use that tool. I don't know if you noticed, but just in him going through like the products lists that are out there, it's incredible. And if you really want to get into it, and I know we probably had some really good professional photographers. Well, those cameras go on drones too, and you can really get those. There's some drones out there that they're flying that what you see on movies now is not helicopters anymore. They're putting all those high-end cameras that you use to take those beautiful cover photos of magazines. Those are flying on drones too. So I know Pedram can probably sit here and do a whole day's lecture as well on that. Figure out what you want, enjoy it, play around with it. Like Tom said, there's a million different settings on these things. Plan your shots. That's another big one. Which way you're going into the sun, like sun coming down or sun coming up. It's going to change your shot. You can shadow yourself out very easily. Just there's so many little tips and stuff. I'm sure you can pick Tom's brain a little more about that. But yeah, like I said, you just plan what you want to do. Prepare yourself what you want to do. If you do get any of these drones. I'd recommend Pedram. They still sell the Fly More kits with the
Yes. Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah.
yeah,
All the Fly More combo kits. Definitely recommend those. You basically take what's in the combos and buy them separately. You end up paying a few $100s more. But if you buy everything as a combo, DJI makes it in a way that the combos always make sense.
yeah, and you get yourself a few extra batteries, things like that. And again, last thing you want to do is have one battery rely on one battery, and then that if something happens to it, drop it in a
Yeah.
puddle or something like that. At least you can keep shooting while you've hiked yourself in there. Again, preparedness, plan on what you want.
Yeah, and part of preparedness, like I use this power supply. It's 20,000 amps, so I could like on a Neo, I can get another 10 charges out of this. So grab a few batteries, have one of these power packs. You can constantly keep charging them and keep playing with it. And yeah, being prepared is always good. And also totally agree with Doug. Your footage comes out really good when you put some thought into it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the fly more thing's like almost a no-brainer. No matter what one you're looking at, for like a little bit more, the 3 batteries and remote and stuff all together. Like you need 3 batteries. You couldn't ever
Yeah.
do it with one. You'd be disappointed. One goes for a crap or you just run long. Like they're not they're so darn affordable. So and I think I'm sure I can send out Pedram's info and then you guys if you have questions or something, you can pick his brain and then you've got his contact too if you want to look at anything. So I think he's already convinced me I need a Neo.
Yeah.
So
I will interject. Yes, you can use one with your phone. I like them a heck of a lot, like by a factor of 10 better with the remote and its own screen. They're so much easier to see, for one thing. And I'm just quick question, Pedram.
Yeah.
You see there
Yep. Yeah.
249 gram, right? So I'm under the limit.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
that's a
You have
Mavic
a
something or other.
Yeah. So you have a mini, the mini series, everything up to a mini 5.
Yeah,
For
okay,
some reason,
perfect.
DJI made the mini 5 252 grams,
Yep.
and then they have a little squiggly line that says plus minus 3 grams. And globally, people have been weighing their stuff, and we see discrepancy. We see some at 249, some at 253. So it's been a little bit up and down. So Transport Canada just recently said, mini 5s are not going to be considered because they're over the 249. Especially once you put an SD card in it, you got another gram in there, you're over the limit. But mini 3s, mini 4s, they're all great and perfect for social media because you have that 16:9 where it can rotate the camera and shoot lengthwise. It's really good.
Well,
Yeah, most of the minis have been sitting on that line of there's some that say depending on the memory card that you put in there,
yeah.
they're tight. They're tight. They're tight.
I had a Pro 4 2, version 2, but I
Yeah.
went to this just to get under the, well, it died. And so I went to this just to keep away from but I'm in Southern Ontario. I'm not down where Doug is in Toronto. I'm out in rural Ontario, but there's airports around. Is
Yep.
there, and I don't know where you are, Pedram, is there a good course you would recommend if I could find the time, like to go and, not that I need it, but I think it would be a good idea. And I do quite a
Yeah.
bit of video with them. And I think to Tom's point, it is the standard now. People want video, they want drone video. Because it's sexy and cool. Like to Tom's point, it looked, and I bet but no, is there a course around Southern Ontario that you know of, Pedram? Are you around here?
So we're located in Woodbridge, Ontario,
Yep.
and we have courses that we run in our classroom. We have a 30 seat classroom. And we run everything from basic, advanced, L1C, which is level 1 complex for beyond visual line of sight, remote operation and training. And then we can get really down into like LiDAR training, thermal. We have a thermographer trainer as well. So things like that. In terms of if you're looking for just stuff online to learn about regulatory, there's a person that does it on YouTube. His name is Don Drone. So he's really good. He's got a lot of regulatory information. He's good in that sense. But if you're looking to get a license, get your basic, advanced, or whatnot, you're more than welcome to take some of our courses. Or if you need anything that's specific to hardware usage, so you want to do some LiDAR work, you want to do some surveying, you want to do magnetometry, things like that you're trying to look to do for work or capture data, and you're trying to do something with that data. We have more so of those courses, but we also do twice a month. We run 2 basics and 2 advanced courses, the first week and the last week of the month.
Yeah, well, thank you. I got my basic one probably 10 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. But I don't remember.
2019.
Yeah, whatever it was.
2019.
I was flying for a company that wanted stuff done, so I just started flying. And I got, so you better get the course. And there was stuff like, oh, you could have a flight plan and all this. And I'm like, huh? But I would like to refresh it. But thank you very much. Yeah.
No problem at all.
I just get you to make me host again, Pedram. If you go over to my video screen, just click on those 3 blue dots.
Let me just stop sharing there. Breakout record.
His little like thumbnail of his face there. If you find TJ, hover over him. Then
there we go.
Dots, so.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thanks, Pedram. That was great.
Very welcome.
Well, if that's all the questions, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else for any of us guys, or is that, like I say, we'll send out. I'll send out Pedram's info, and then if you got tech video questions or product questions, you can send them his way. And feel free to reach out if you have more questions for me. And hopefully that's good, guys.
Maybe just a quick one for Pedram. I use the DJI Mini Pro 3, and I do a lot of the active track stuff with it, but I know when you're using that function, it only lets you do 4K 30 frames per second. So do you know off the top of your head, does the 4 or the 5 allow you to do more frames per second while you're using active track, or is that kind of where it limits out?
No, on the 4 you can do it, and on the Neo you can do it in terms of the active track. You can do 4K at, I believe 60 is the max that it will do on those. One of the problems is when it's taking really high resolution imagery, and it's also running its AI function of tracking. It takes so much processing power that they won't allow you to hit the top limits sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, guys, I think this has been really, really good. Thank you, Tom, Pedram, and Doug for all the information. And we really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. And we'll hopefully come up with some more cool options for cool seminars for everybody. And this one will get put up onto our YouTube, so people that couldn't join us can be able to check it out. So we've gone to, I know it's 7:45 here Edmonton time. So those other guys are running into the late night. I can see Tom, it's getting dark behind you, but that's just the smoke maybe.
That smoke. It should be light till 10:30 here still. But
yeah,
just the apocalypse settling in.
Well, thanks so much.
My computer's covered in ash now. It's crazy.
Wow.
Okay, well, thank you very much, guys.
Doug and Pedram, thanks a lot for joining us. I really appreciate it. And everybody else, thanks for, I really appreciate you coming to listen.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to both presenters and organizers. Thank you.